And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to a new video. And today I wanted to share with you a little update on what's going on with the Daytona EVs, and also just a fun little story that that happened over the weekend, which I want to give a shout out to my friend Quincy, who beat me up a lot in the comments on the Dodge Daytona EV group, because his understanding was that I was bashing the car. And that's all I'm doing, in just negatively bashing the car and hurting the car's reputation. And I understood that he misunderstood. So while we went back and forth in a volley, calling each other trolls and casting aspersions, we landed at a place to where I realized we were not going to find any common ground, despite the fact that we have way more common ground than he could ever imagine. So I simply did a little research, found his phone number, and gave him a phone call, which the world is a very small place now. So if you use your full, proper legal name online, just know that it takes about 30 seconds to find out everything in the world you want to know about somebody. While I'm cautious and careful and respectful of that information, I thought I would just give him a call man to man, because sometimes in the comments, people are way tougher, way braver, and way more ruthlessly nasty, that they say things they would otherwise never to say to a person in person. And while this man absolutely made it clear that he would have said it to my face, I can tell you that common human and adult decorum dictates that 99.9% of the time, people will not act like idiots in person. They will have, or at least approach, a conversation with some level of professionalism and respect, just by simple civility in the universe. But online, we tend to maybe find ourselves being a little bit more brazen. And in this case, while this man was significantly larger than me and could easily break me in multiple pieces without breaking a sweat, the point I wanted to make to him was that there's no reason for us to go back and forth in extreme negativity when we both agree on one thing, which is the Daytona Charger EV should not be as problematic as it is, and buyers and customers who spent their hard-earned money on that car should not have to sit and make payments on a car they don't have. So he ultimately did text me back and call me back, and we had a spectacular conversation that I did film. And unless he gives me permission, I have no intention on posting it. But I figured if it went extremely sideways, and I did tell him up front, yes, I was filming the conversation, that that it would have made for great entertainment. But it was such a great conversation. And Quincy, thank you. Thank you for taking my call. Thanks for having the conversation and letting us hash it out as men, as grown, adult, civil men. And you know what we came up with at the end, folks, is that we both agreed. We agreed on pretty much everything. And his misunderstanding of what I was saying, which he admitted, was that I'm just bashing the car for the sake of bashing the car. When in reality, I've always been an advocate for my fellow Mopar lover and owners. And I've gone out of my way for very little remuneration, very little compensation, or anything for that matter. Frankly, taking hits and not getting invited to things, not being able to be part of Dodge's inner circle, because I fight for the customer. I am screaming on behalf of the customer from my little tiny platform that I know that Dodge does see, because I've got inside information and direct conversations with people within the Stellantis universe where, yes, they do watch my little tiny channel. Same with TKs and Butters. So I have been able to keep the heat and the pressure on Stellantis to work towards a solution. Now, I would say that if they have any brain whatsoever left in their corporate skulls, that they would do that regardless of my videos. But I can tell you, my videos, TK's videos, Butters' videos, and many others' videos have most certainly put them in a position where we've called them out way before the car came out and predicted, as though we were Nostradamus and future tellers with crystal balls in front of our faces, been able to tell all of you that the car was going to be a problem when it launched, and then the car was a problem when it launched. How would we know such a thing? Well, they shouldn't have launched it as early as they did. And in our conversation, Quincy and I both agreed that, yeah, they shouldn't have done that. And yeah, what they're doing with customers is kind of BS. The fact they don't have a surplus of parts and supplies to be able to fix these cars, and people are sitting waiting for back-ordered parts for upwards of a month or more while making a car payment on these things, it's unconscionable. It shouldn't be allowed. It should be downright illegal, and it's not right. It's not good for the customer. It's certainly not good for customers who took a chance with a product that frankly had every single chance of making and finding a place in this world had they stuck the landing, but they didn't. And as a result, we're all at odds with each other because it looks like I'm bashing the thing. If the thing worked great when it came out, I would have nothing to say other than I hate EVs, which I don't. And frankly, I would buy one of these things for the channel if the California incentives were as good as the incentives are in other parts of the country. It just doesn't make sense to pay full retail stupid price on a car that's going to be problematic that I will only make money on maybe for a couple months before it becomes boring. But it's still out there in the ether of something I could end up doing. You all know me if you've been watching for a while. I could literally say I'm not buying anything and this weekend end up on a dealership floor and lose my mind and drive something home. It's how it's been. Just talk to my wife, she'll tell you. But now let's jump off of that. By the way, Quincy, thanks for the conversation. And thank you for all of you who jump in the comments and recognize that just because you are behind a keyboard, there's no reason to be disrespectful, nasty, obnoxious. And if I see you in person, always feel free to come up and tell me that you disagree with me. I've had it happen before. And you know what? We've had respectful conversations. We absolutely have. And it didn't turn into some yelling match or fist fight in the parking lot because we're just talking about a car, people. Like, seriously. So let's jump over and let me show you what's going on with the RTs and this guy that has posted on the internal group for the Dodge Charger Daytonas group. And he says that he works for Chrysler. Now, I'm willing to accept that on its face, while also making sure you all know that it could be completely false. So take this with a grain of salt. But it seems like he's got, for example, this image here, which definitely looks like an internal document that dealers get their hands on. So I would imagine that this is legitimate. If it is, and we assume that it is moving forward, there's some stuff we should talk about here. So he puts, and I would also say that just because he works for Chrysler, and under his own admonitions here, where he says, I work for Chrysler, that it depends on where he works in Chrysler. He could be, washing cars at a Chrysler dealership, or he could be a top executive. I don't know. I looked his name up because, like I said, you can usually find things online, but his name's quite common. And unfortunately, I couldn't find anything to corroborate that, but I also didn't spend as much time digging because it seems like he's got some information here. So let's take it at face value, understanding that we may learn something different in the future. So he just wrote, FYI, so new info just dropped. New colors are coming. Purple haze, olive green, steel blue. Also looks like no Canadian BEV production for the rest of the year, but should resume 2026. 2026 RTs will lose the stage kits and be unlocked to 536 horsepower standard. Well, that's a significant jump considering that Matt McAleer himself said that this thing was postponed for 2026, and for the foreseeable future, his quote here was it wouldn't be coming back in 2026. And postponed doesn't mean it's gone forever, but it could, and it makes no sense. And the way the articles continue to explain sounded like it was never coming back. But this gentleman's saying that the 2026 RTs are actually going to come back, and instead of being 496 horsepower with a Stage 1 kit, there will be no Stage 1 kit. It'll just simply be unlocked at 536 horsepower. This poses a question that, well, Quincy and I had a conversation about on the phone the other day, which was the stage kits. So if they remove the Stage 1 kit and the Stage 2 kit from the Scat Pack and the RTs, and they do come out with RTs in 2026, and neither of these cars, as I shared in a previous video, have the stage kits, then doesn't it make sense that they would come out with stage kits still because they want to make money? And if it's just horsepower upgrades or software upgrades, will they then call those stage kits? Or will you have a Stage 2 that's actually now not a Stage 2 and it's a Stage 2 with 725 horsepower? Who the hell knows? Or will they just start at Stage 2 and Stage 3 kits when they launch any stage kits in the future? Who the hell knows with Stellantis Dodge? And there's a good chance nobody even thought that through yet. But this is the part I wanted to focus on, which was the new colors. Real quick before we talk about the other controversial point here. So currently, we've seen these. We've also seen the peel out orange, and it looks like, and this is sad because this is, I would say, my favorite color in the new Dodge Charger, which is peel out orange. This is going to be, they're saying, phased out in September. So that means this year it's gone. So if you want your peel out orange Dodge Charger, you better get it now. That is unfortunate because that's the one I would want if I was going to get one of these things. And certainly if it's in the 6-pack, it's the color I would want. And it looks like it's going to go away. And it sounds like it will not be in the 2026s unless they make it available on the Hurricanes, which I doubt it. The Purple Haze will be coming out, launching instead in December 2025. That will be an awesome color. And then you will have Steel Blue getting launched in January 2026, which looks like it's going to be a great color as well. And Destroyer Gray, sadly, will phase out in October. And the Green Machine, this new color, kind of like an olive green, will launch in December 2025. So sadly, it looks like we're going to lose a couple really great colors, but we're going to gain some new colors. I just wish they'd keep that peel out orange. Comment below if you agree, because that is just a cool color. So that's what's happening with those colors. Obviously, they're still going to have the standard colors that they've had that we've all seen already. But then this is the part that really got me here. It looks like some of the 6-packs, the HO will do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds and 1/4 mile in 12.7 seconds. Now, he's a little surprised, thought it'd be quicker. A lot of people in the comments felt the same way. And that's where we jump over here. What Dodge was saying is, yeah, the HO 6-pack would do 0 to 60 in the low 4-second range, which is kind of shocking because you would think it would be faster than that with the turbos, and you would think it would be at least lighter since it would have no big, huge, heavy battery. But it sounds like they're not going to be able to slim this thing down that much because it is a gigantic car. Because if you look at even the Grand Wagoneer L, I think this was 2023, did 0 to 60 in 4.7. So if you're looking at 4.4, you had a gigantic SUV doing 0 to 60 in 4.7. The Scat Packs, like I have, in the Charger and the Challenger, wide bodies and standard bodies were 4.3 seconds. 4.3 seconds in the standard Hemi Scat Pack, meaning, you know, a tenth of a second isn't significant, isn't a big deal, and you could make up for that based on road conditions and driver capabilities and skills. But it seems kind of ridiculous that they couldn't have made it at least faster, because technically, you know, people are going to be screaming, well, on paper, the Hemi Scat Pack's faster. Well, we're talking about 1/10 of a second. I would be surprised, especially if you get all-wheel drive. I'm just shocked that it can't get faster. And if they're figuring in a rollout with that as well, which they probably are on this, I just still think it's not that fast. And then 12.5 seconds, 12.7 seconds, what do you say, 12.7 seconds on the 1/4 mile, which takes us over to 12.4 seconds for a Charger Scat Pack. That's shocking. So the Charger Scat Pack Hemi will be faster in the 1/4 mile than a twin-turbo i6 in the new Charger. That's pretty shocking. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. So that's what I wanted to share with you all, because if he's got this inside information and he's sharing it, I didn't want you all to have to go hunting for it. It's here. And if they do bring back, the big controversial thing here is, if they bring back the RTs and they increase the horsepower, they're going to likely have to give up some range to get that extra horsepower. And they fix the problems with the RTs could become a lot more desirable for the people who are looking for EVs. And if they've got a pretty good lineup, and remember, they're talking about bringing out the Outlaw name, So if they've got a pretty good lineup and a bunch of, because I wasn't sure what they're going to do with the RT name, then we could see just a whole bunch of models coming to Dodge. And if they give us a lot of selection, I have no problem with EVs existing. No problem whatsoever. I just think they should work for the people who spent money on them. And by the way, in this group, just thought I'd share with you, I've been sharing the Flatbed Gang. There's a new member of the Flatbed Gang here, Dan. Second time in 3 weeks, and here is Dan on the flatbed with his car. It's prolific at this point, folks. So you could be mad at my videos that I talk about this thing so much, but I am absolutely committed to keeping the pressure on to push to get this thing to where it is a viable vehicle that people can buy and depend on. And one thing my new friend Quincy and I had a great conversation about, he's got 2 beautiful daughters and a wife, and I've got a wife and a beautiful daughter. And the last thing I would ever want is for my wife to be out having to go through this on the highway in an area that may not be the safest area in the world, and to be having to stand around on the side of the road with her and getting a tow truck or an Uber home. It's just ridiculous. So would I trust my question always is would I trust my family in that car? And at this stage, I would not. And I caution the rest of you to just keep that in mind until they get these things squared away. And I know they're working on it. So with that, everybody, let me know what you think about all this information. If you believe it, if you think it's credible, it looks like it might be. And what do you think about that 0 to 60 time and that quarter-mile time in the twin turbos? I think it's a little bit disappointing, but at least it's in the range of the Scat Packs. But if it's problematic like this Charger Daytona, then we're going to be doing that when it's not on a flatbed. So hopefully they launch that thing with no bugs. So with that, please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.